Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. We begin in southwest Nebraska, where a man faces murder charges after a shooting this week. Chet Stenzel was arrested on Tuesday. Police in Ogallala say it stems from the shooting death of Jeremiah Van Linde at an Ogallala home. Now, it's unclear whether Stenzel and Van Linde knew each other prior to the incident. Local authorities have yet to release what led up to the shooting, but Stenzel faces second-degree murder, felony weapon, and terroristic threat charges. Meanwhile, a man convicted of two high-profile murders in the 1960s has died behind bars. State corrections officials say 74-year-old Brian Adams died at the Omaha Correctional Center on Tuesday. State officials say his cause of death has not been released, but say he was being treated for a medical condition. He was serving a life sentence for murder, convicted of killing two gas station clerks, Gene Wolfe and Irvin Reimers, in a robbery in Omaha in 1967, just days after his 18th birthday. He'd unsuccessfully asked for his sentence to be pardoned in 2013 after earning a GED in 2 degrees while behind bars. Turning to the unicameral, Jim Pillen's plan to cut property taxes continuing to limp along in the legislature. Pillen himself has admitted he's not where he wants to be, and as Joe Jordan tells us, that keeps the possibility of a special session alive.
All the tax talk and frustration building.
It's very hard. It's really hard when you're not on the floor. Like when people come up to me and say, well, you didn't talk to me. I can't talk to you if you're not here.
Early on, it was raising the state sales tax by 1 cent that was going to pay for Governor Jim Pillen's plan to cut property taxes. That didn't fly. Then the talk turned to income taxes. Right now, the highest individual income tax rate is nearly 7%, due to be cut to about 6% by 2027. The highest corporate tax is just over 7%, heading to about 6% by 2027. But conservatives like the Platt Institute shot back, arguing recent developments suggest there's a risk of these hard-fought gains being diluted or delayed, a move that could inject uncertainty into our economy. So touching income taxes went off the table as well.
I appreciate and understand that there's been a consistent laser-like focus to quote-unquote reduce property tax burden, which of course we all share. But there's no doubt that we have different solutions and ideas about how to get there.
The latest last-minute plan finds a variety of other pay-fors, easier access to existing income tax credits that many taxpayers have been missing out on, according to officials. And then there's a $1 cigarette tax. Right now it's 64 cents. Charging sales tax on soda pop, candy, veterinary services for pets, and internet ads. But even those changes leave Pillen's plan to cut property taxes well short. Instead of raising $1 billion, the new plan raises $200 million. Instead of cutting property taxes 40%, it's now closer to 10%. Clearly a far cry from what the governor had in mind.
I'm not stopping. We're not there, so we'll keep working until we get there.
Which keeps the door open to a possible special session later this year. In Omaha, Joe Jordan, News Channel, Nebraska.
State lawmakers, meanwhile, are on track to pass a bill that would circumvent voters who could repeal a new law that funds private school tuition with taxpayer money. The bill by Elkhorn Senator Luann Linehan advanced on Wednesday. Linehan was the author of last year's measure, allowing businesses and people to donate millions of state income taxes they owe to private school scholarships instead. Linehan's new bill would strip that funding scheme and instead directly fund private school scholarships with public money. Critics say that violates the state constitution, which they say expressly bans the appropriation of public funds to non-public schools. That winner-take-all debate might not be over in Nebraska. Governor Pillen saying on social media this week that he's committed to getting winner-take-all over the finish line, but conceded it would have to happen in a special session. The governor also said he would not call for a special session on changing Nebraska's electoral college rules unless he believes he has the 33 votes to pass. This after conservative pundit Charlie Kirk hosted a rally this week urging Nebraska to move to a winner-take-all electoral system. Many conservatives have said Nebraska's 2nd congressional district could end up being the difference in a Biden re-election if it goes for Democrats, as it did in 2020. Well, in a year where 3 spots on a Northeast Nebraska school board are up for grabs in the general election, a 4th spot on the board has opened suddenly. Officials with Norfolk Public Schools say board member Lindsay Dixon has resigned her position. No reason was given. Dixon didn't attend NPS's most recent school board meeting. She was elected in 2022. Her term doesn't expire until January of 2027. District officials say the board will discuss her replacement at their next meeting on April 22nd. Well, Nebraskans will soon have the chance to interact with the priority candidate for president of the University of Nebraska. University officials have organized 9 forums with Dr. Jeffrey Gold. Those forums will be spread across all 4 NU campuses and will happen on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. The forum's part of a state-mandated 30-day public vetting period before the Board of Regents can vote on offering a candidate the presidency. Gold has served as chancellor of the University of Nebraska Medical Center for the last 10 years. Well, even in today's digital age, public libraries are alive and well. More than half of all people between the ages of 13 and 40 visited physical libraries within the past year. That's according to a recent report by the American Library Association. Libraries have registered more borrowers than ever before. Now, this week is National Library Week, and Casey Wannenberg introduces us to today's modern library, where they're using more than just books to empower a new generation of readers.
Go.
This might not be what you envision when you hear the word library. But today's public libraries have opened a new chapter, and it's full of kids programming.
Well, sometimes I have friends here, and so I can talk to them.
4th grader Charlotte Coleman visits the Valentine Public Library at least once a week to take part in activities like this. But along the way, she also picks up
The Harry Potter book section.
her favorite book series.
I've read 6, and I'm working on the 7th right now.
And we're doing some.
That's exactly what library director Carrie Graham is hoping for when she plans activities
Science experiments in a bag.
and unique items to rent like STEM kits.
Every day our numbers get bigger and bigger.
In addition to in-person programming, the library is also using digital things like apps to draw more people into the love of reading.
I mean, some of the big things too is like the access to free internet. That's really important to a lot of people. We're starting to see a lot more workers that work remotely, and they come in to use our Wi-Fi.
You can also play chess, computer games, or just hang out with friends.
We're building a community.
But in addition to all the non-traditional library items, Graham also believes that books are simply back in style.
There's nothing more fun than talking books with other people.
Since the pandemic in 2020, U.S. print book sales have increased by almost 9%. Here in Valentine, a town of less than 2,600 people, the library saw almost 200 new users last year.
It's really fun to help someone who thought they were not a reader and get them hooked on something. I always think people who say they don't like to read just haven't found the right thing to read yet.
But thanks in part to activities like this, these kids are developing a love for reading early on in their book of life.
I like the books that I can read because I really love reading books.
Yeah, you're a big reader, right?
Yeah, I like to read.
A love that's been around for centuries. In Valentine, Casey Wannenberg, News Channel, Nebraska.
To the economy, where the drawn-out battle between American consumers and higher prices saw another setback last month. A key government index said price increases picked up again in March, driven by 2 essential areas. Karen Kafa has the breakdown.
U.S. consumers continue to feel the squeeze of higher prices for essentials like gas and shelter. The Bureau of Labor Statistics said Wednesday that the Consumer Price Index increased at a year-over-year rate of 3.5% in March, the reading the highest annual gain in the last 6 months.
This has definitely been a setback. This is not good news. It doesn't necessarily mean that the Fed or anyone else should give up the fight against inflation.
Overall grocery prices stayed flat month to month, but they're up 1.2% from a year ago.
I think consumers continue to feel the pinch. I think consumers continue to compare prices to